The sun rose gently over the red hills of Umidag village, painting the skies in shades of gold and orange. Birds sang on tall palm trees as the people prepared for the most celebrated event in years, the royal wedding of Chief Daniel, the wise and beloved ruler of the land, and Angela, the beautiful daughter of Elder Michael. By mid-morning, the palace grounds were alive with music and laughter. Drummers beat the talking drum, women danced in circles, and men in flowing white agbadas lifted their staffs with pride. The scent of roasted goat meat, jollof rice, and fresh palm wine filled the air. Inside the royal quarters, Angela, the soon-to-be queen, sat before a large mirror framed with carved wood and cowrie shells. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting a warm glow across her smooth skin. Around her, her attendants and dressers worked carefully, each one eager to make her the most beautiful bride the village had ever seen. When Angela appeared, a hush fell over the people. Her beauty was breathtaking. Her golden waist beads shimmered as she walked, and her eyes sparkled with gentle confidence. The villagers shouted in excitement, waving their handkerchiefs in the air. They sang praises to their chief and his bride. Daniel, the man of wisdom and peace. The lion who guards our village. Long live our chief and his queen. The joy of the people filled the air, laughter, music, and dance blended in perfect harmony. But while everyone rejoiced, one man stood apart, hidden behind the palace pillars, his heart burning with jealousy. It was Emmanuel, the chief's younger brother. Though they shared the same mother, when their father died, he had passed the staff of leadership to Daniel instead of him. From that moment, bitterness grew in Emmanuel's heart like a poisonous weed. When no one was watching, Emmanuel sneaked into the room where the palm wine was kept. From his pocket, he pulled a pouch of poison, a deadly poison given to him by a dibia who claimed it could kill even a lion. Only a pinch, the man had said, and no heart shall beat again. He poured it into the calabash meant for his brother. Today, your joy shall end, he whispered coldly. Moments later, the poisoned wine was brought before Chief Daniel. Smiling, he lifted it high, then drank deeply. The people cheered, but their joy turned to horror when the chief suddenly clutched his stomach, gasping in pain. The calabash dropped from his hand as he fell to the ground, vomiting and trembling. Queen Angela screamed and knelt beside him, crying. The palace was thrown into confusion. The healer declared, "He has been poisoned." Inside the palace, Queen Angela wept beside her husband. The royal attendants found him, but his skin grew cold. His eyes rolled back, and his breathing slowed. The palace healer examined him but shook his head hopelessly. "This is no ordinary sickness," he said softly. "The chief has drunk something deadly." As the people outside wailed, the sound of hurried footsteps approached the gate. It was a traveling evangelist, a man named Pastor John, who had been passing through the village preaching the gospel. Hearing the cries, he ran toward the palace. "Where is your chief?" he asked the guards. "Let me see him. The power of God can still save him." He knelt beside the chief's bed, placed his hand on Daniel's chest, and began to pray with a voice that shook the room. Then Daniel gasped for air and opened his eyes. "Angela," he whispered weakly. "The Lord has given me life again." The room erupted with cries of joy and praise. But even as joy returned to the palace, truth waited to be revealed. Unknown to Emmanuel, a palace guard hidden in the shadows saw everything. Days later, the guard who saw Emmanuel poison the wine confessed that he saw Emmanuel pouring a poison into the wine. The elders were shocked, and the entire court fell silent. Emmanuel was seized and brought before them. Trembling and pale, Emmanuel bowed his head and admitted his guilt. "It is true," he said in a broken voice. "I poisoned my brother's wine out of envy and foolish pride. I thought his fall would make me great, but now I see I was destroying myself." The elders murmured among themselves, preparing to pronounce judgment. But before any judgment could be passed, a traveling evangelist who had been praying for the chief stepped forward and said, Let mercy triumph over judgment. Let this family choose forgiveness instead of revenge. At that very moment, Chief Daniel, hearing his brother's confession, he looked upon Emmanuel with sorrow but not hatred. "Emmanuel," he said softly, "you tried to destroy me, but God preserved my life. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because peace must live in our home." Emmanuel wept bitterly, crawling toward his brother. The villagers watched in silence, touched by the scene. Then slowly, applause and songs of thanksgiving filled the air. The people rejoiced, saying, "Truly, forgiveness is stronger than anger." From that day, Emmanuel repented and lived a humble, honest life.